So Ballinberry is our top subject for today. He was banned from competitive play, both Paladins, PCL, and any other future events held by Skillshot. Okay? And let me explain to you the situation and how it looks. Now, whether Ballinberry is innocent or guilty, me personally, as his friend outside of Console Corner, I believe he's innocent. But the problem is that he made a joke. Whether that was a joke or not, it doesn't look good. His former team, Has-Beens, was being DDoSed, and it was confirmed that the DDoSing was happening by Skillshot. Okay? So you cannot make a joke like that when your former team is getting DDoSed, because Skillshot is not going to see that as a joke. Now, there was a snake who reported this and snitched, but we should all be used to this by now. There's been snakes in the grass for over a year now. Okay? That's one. Two, it doesn't look good. This may be a joke, but let's put it this way. I, with the skin color that I have, cannot walk into a room full of African Americans and make a slavery joke. Yes, it's a joke, but it's not appropriate for that setting. The day your former team is getting DDoSed, you make a joke about DDoSing. That doesn't look good. You may be innocent. It may have been a joke, but it doesn't look good. That's the main reason why you were banned. Second thing is, a lot of people are wondering, why was Ballinberry banned from the actual game a few days later? One, it may have taken Skillshot a day or two to relay the message to Hi-Rez to implement a ban in the game. Two, the reason why he was banned from the game, in my personal opinion, or my best guess, my best estimate of why he was banned in the actual game over people that you guys complain about, like Chang's Leonidas, and hated on Xbox. Do you know why? Because they don't want someone who's been accused of DDoSing people on a casual basis in their game. That's the problem here. So, yes, you made a joke. Yes, everyone but one person thought it was a funny joke. But at the same time, it's not a joke. Let's go back to Swiper, for instance. Swiper made a TikTok video, and it may have been funny to a lot of people, and it may have not been funny to a lot of people. But the one person or the one group of people that it really matters if it's funny or not to is the people who have the power to ban you. Jokes are jokes, but there's a time and a place for certain jokes. Chang's Leonidas and hated on Xbox. It's a different story. They throw ranked games. They don't boot people offline. Now, yes, I believe Ballinberry doesn't do that either, but he's the accused. So that is the reason why. And hating on Xbox doesn't even play the game anymore. I have him on my friends list. He got GM and then he stopped playing the game. I know this. And we have a new report system. I have spoken to Martini and the tech people at great lengths during and after AOC meetings, as well as other AOC delegates, about the reporting system. They implemented a new system and changed and reworked a lot of the things in the reporting system, and it just got implemented in the last update. So you have to give it time to work. People are not going to get banned or suspended from Paladins because you report them 5 times in one day. You have to give the system time. After this next patch, I will talk to them in the AOC meeting again. And if the system is not working properly, I will ask them why it isn't working properly, how to fix it, and what we can do in the meantime with the people that we are reporting on a daily basis. That is why Ballinberry was banned, and that is why I personally think he is innocent, but the joke doesn't look good during the current situation. The day you make the joke is the day your former team. You have to look at how that looks. Up next, we have Skeppii. Skeppii was dropped from heating up. SJP was moved to damage. He's still going to play that flex role. And Dovokiin has joined SJP in heating up. So Skeppii's top options right now were Bustdown and Invictus. He has expressed at a high capacity that he wants to play for Flashpoint. He's even scrimmed with them on Xbox a few times. Could have been labeled a pickup game because on the other team there was some pickup players, but nonetheless, he was scrimming with Flashpoint. Only they had Op in for Good Lad, and they had Skeppii, Legacy, Prosper, and World. So Storm was also not in there. So here's the thing. I have spoken with Skeppii privately, and Skeppii has also made some decisions on his own. Now, from what I know, he will be sitting out weeks 2 and 3 of the PCL to fully evaluate his options. He plans on making the next lane. When that is, nobody knows. But here's my personal opinion of what each scenario would be. If he joins Flashpoint, a lot of people are telling me, oh, this team is going to be insane. Well, let me tell you something. The team's already insane. Flashpoint's already insane. The problem with adding Skeppii is that you have Skeppii and Prosper. Those are arguably the two people that come up every time I talk about the best player in Console Paladins currently. The problem is that if you implement Skeppii, who plays the same things as Prosper, then you have two people that can play the same things, and they conflict with each other at times, but they also can work well together at times. The problem is that you're not going to get rid of you're not going to get rid of Prosper and put Skeppii in the lineup. You're going to keep Prosper in that lineup with Skeppii, which means who do you get rid of? The weakest link of the starting 5 for Flashpoint at the moment would be Legacy. The problem with that is that he is their main tank, so he's no longer the weakest link because he's the best main tank they have. If you get rid of Legacy, that means World or Good Lad have to play main tank. Good Lad does not want to play main tank. I can tell you this from the way he plays now compared to when he actually was a tank player only for them. He is not going to be playing tank because he doesn't want to play tank. And World can play main tank as well, but we all know World is better at flexing. Play the off tank so you can do a lot of damage, and when you're needed in triple DPS, you do what you've been doing for 2 years now. Op is not going to play main tank, although he would be the second best option for main tank because he is better at being the general manager of the team. So the problem with this is the lineup. I don't like having Skeppii in the Flashpoint lineup because I don't like what happens to the tank role. I wouldn't get rid of World and keep Legacy. I wouldn't get rid of Good Lad and keep World. I wouldn't get rid of Legacy and keep either of the other two either. I like the lineup the way it is. Personally, that's my opinion. I think Skeppii could add depth to them, but I don't think that it is a necessary move for Flashpoint. I think Skeppii would benefit more from joining Flashpoint than Flashpoint would benefit from having Skeppii join them, if you understand what I mean. Now, if Skeppii goes to Bustdown, this would be a good move as well. Flashpoint already has PS4 EU in the bag, if you ask me. If Skeppii joins Bustdown, that's a decent lineup, but then again, I don't really know the lineup because that team changes literally every 2 days. Skeppii is listed on the roster for Bustdown for this weekend. The rosters were submitted before Skeppii made the decision of sitting out. I don't know if Skeppii's still going to be sitting out or playing. But my advice is that he doesn't play. If he plays, he adds Xbox games to his tally. If you play 4 games on either platform, then you are stuck to that platform. So sitting out week 2 and 3 is strategic. Flashpoint has to face iTech in week 2. Now, I think they're going to win that. But iTech is supposedly, in my opinion, the second best team in that division. So he'll get to see how Flashpoint does against iTech. In the Xbox EU region, Viral is facing Bustdown. Here's the thing with that. Of course, everyone is just expecting Bustdown to win, and of course it probably will be a 3-0. But if Viral's able to extend it to a 4th game, if Viral wins, that's double the problem. But if they're able to extend it to a 4th game, or they score more than 1 point a game on this team, or if they even push a payload in on them, I think Bustdown is completely out of the option for Skeppii because that's a problem. If you have problems against the Viral squad as Bustdown, then you're going to have problems against Cyclone. You're going to have problems against Radiant still. So for Skeppii, I think his best options are to sit out for the next 2 weeks. The third option for Skeppii is Invictus. I think Invictus would be a good fit for Skeppii because they're missing a DPS player. Now that Dovokiin is gone, they can still move E-Knives to that flex role and keep him on the off tank and move Skeppii into that secondary DPS position behind TKO. TKO can also flex to the off tank when needed, or he can also flex to a double support if they need that as well, if E-Knives doesn't do it and he plays the off tank. So Skeppii would fit fairly nicely with Invictus, and I think he fits better with them than he does with Flashpoint or Bustdown. The problem with Invictus is that they just picked up Richie. But here's the thing. I think Skeppii would still be able to have a chance with Invictus and could make land with Invictus because he wants to prove to Heating Up that they made the biggest mistake of the season. And what better way to do that than facing them in the regular season and making land over them? So that's my personal opinion. So the roster rules are the next thing on the agenda, and I do not like these roster rules. You know, in the past, you've had to have 3 out of the 5 people on your team to remain with your current roster and blah, 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 blah. But I think with the new roster rules, you're able to change your entire squad, even your captain. 5 fresh new players every single week. It is stupid. It is dumb. It is completely ruining the integrity of the league. It is dumb. It basically makes the league qualifiers worth absolutely nothing. You could go in there by yourself with a pickup team of some ranked monkeys, qualify into the league, especially in divisions like Xbox EU, and then just sandbag with all the good players once they leave their teams, because that's what everyone does. These new roster rules ruin the integrity of the league. I don't like it. It makes my job harder for all the reasons. And it makes the players seem like they're not dedicated to the game. They just want a quick buck. They want quick fame for their 15 minutes of fame, and they want a chance to go to LAN. That's not what this game is about. That's not what this community is about. It's about growing. And people don't want to do that. People don't want to bond together, form a team, and create an experience. They don't want to do that. And that's fine. Because if you do that in the game, you do that in real life. So it'll catch up with you. The second problem with this roster, these new roster rules, is that the lower tier teams are the ones who are truly getting the bad end of this. Teams like Viral, teams like Stush Gaming, teams like eStorm Gaming, and teams like Low Key Scheming. Because once players leave, it's hard for them to find new players. And the top players, such as Skeppii, Wonderful, Cool Matt, even, Prosper, if these players were to leave their dominant squads for whatever reasons, they would never consider teams like this. Viral would never be an option for Skeppii. eStorm Gaming would never be an option for Skeppii. Stush Gaming would never be an option. That's what I'm talking about, is that it's, think of it like a major sports team, like basketball, like the NBA. These smaller market teams will not have a chance. Teams like Charlotte, they're not going to sign LeBron. They have no chance. He went to the Lakers, who are a large market and are still poop. So, that's a little different because no one's going to go to a shitty team. But you kind of get what I'm trying to get at, right? So these smaller market PCL teams, it hurts them more than the rest of the PCL. Moving up is Invictus. They lost Dovokiin, who, honestly, I don't know why he left the team. It doesn't make sense to me. He says he has a better chance at, well, his words are winning LAN, but he's not going to win LAN. And I can for sure say that now. The two strongest teams right now are Flashpoint and Elevate. And I don't care if you're on Heating Up or Invictus, you're not beating either of those teams currently. maybe later down the road, but I don't think so. You beat Heating Up in group stages 3-0, and then you basically 3-0 them after losing the first game in the first week of the season, and then you leave the team. It doesn't make sense to me. You're doing really well, both individually as a player and with your team, but then you leave them. So we'll just have to wait and see how Heating Up does with Dovokiin in the lineup and how Invictus does without him. They've picked up Richie. I think this is a good pickup. If you don't grab Skeppii right away, I think this is a good pickup here. One thing to note is that Skeppii's played 2 games on PS4, so if he plays 2 more, he is locked to PS4, so that would mean Bustdown is out of the option completely. But he would still be able to switch regions on the PS4 side of things if he wanted to. So Richie comes in. I think Richie is the best option for the team right now. I think another good option for them would have been either bring back Tommy Jet or get someone from Xbox who could maybe throw the other teams off because they've never seen them play or experienced play against them, kind of like Sibs. I don't know if Sibs has a PS4, but he's a fairly good DPS. He's not amazing, he's not great, but he's a fairly good DPS. But he's never played on PS4 to my knowledge, so that would kind of throw off your enemy teams and stuff like that. So moving on to Dovokiin, I don't know. Again, I don't know what he's doing. So yeah, he wins against Heating Up twice out of the 2 times that they play them. Then he switches to Heating Up. I think Dovokiin could help Heating Up. I think this is a good move for Heating Up. I don't think it's a good move for Dovokiin because he's beating Heating Up with Invictus. But for Heating Up side of things, they get rid of Skeppii. They move SJP back to damage. I think SJP likes playing damage more than any other role. Now remember, SJP can play every role in the game, but I believe he does better, much better as a DPS player. So that is a big plus to him. Also, he needs to grind the game. There's a lot of rumors saying he doesn't want to grind the game. And I have no comment about the e-girl stuff on Twitter. I was streaming last night playing some Overwatch because Paladins was down for the maintenance. But I was scrolling through Twitter while I'm searching for matches, and I just see all this crap about e-girls and SJP, and it's just like, whoa, I don't even care to know about any of this. So if anyone wanted to ask me about that's my opinion. Let's talk about Bustdown. Bustdown has changed their roster again. They have added Skeppii to the roster in the check-in submissions, but I personally don't see Skeppii playing this weekend for them. Another big thing is that they face Cyclone in week 3, so that's a big matchup. Depending on how they do without Skeppii for that matchup would determine if I were Skeppii, if I'm joining that team or not. If they lose badly, I'm not joining that team. If they lose to the point where I could help them beat them next time, then I would consider it. And if they beat them, probably going to join them. Another big thing that I want to note about Bustdown's roster changes is that they have moved Ari Avin, or however you say his name. They have moved Ari to sub. They've brought in Yui as well. Westside's also a sub now too. So here's my thing. I had this discussion with Dreams in my stream the other day while we were watching some of the non-streamed games. Yui is a really good player. He got sub of the year last year. He was the man behind the curtain for Vex during their finals run at HRX. He's a really good player. The problem with Yui is that he cannot main tank, okay? He can main tank, but he cannot play main tank, in my opinion, okay? So I don't think he will perform fairly well in the main tank role. Now, I don't agree with Westside being on the bench because you just poached him from the viral squad that he was on in qualifiers. It was a different viral squad than the one that made PCL. Keep that in mind. You poached him from that team, made him sit out of the qualifiers, made him join your team, and now you bench him. Another thing is Ari, apparently it was trolling games, but, you know, they still won 3-2 against Radiant. You've picked up Wildcard. That's a big plus for you guys. He's a really good player. and you've moved Ari to sub. Ari gets player of the week, and you move him to sub. Ari realized that last season he didn't make PCL because it was his fault. He was with Press Y. He didn't wake up, apparently. If I remember correctly, he slept in, missed games, whatever it may have been. They didn't qualify for the league, and he was really down about himself for that, and he basically said F the game. But then, a little bit later, started grinding the game again. He gets on your team, and he does so well where he gets player of the week. You guys beat who I thought was the second best team in your division at the time in the first week. You're on a good track to going 2-0 in the league, facing Cyclone in week 3 to determine who remains undefeated. Granted, Cyclone wins their week 2 matchup against Radiant. And then you bench him. So I just don't understand what is going on with Bustdown. You're benching players that are performing well. You're benching players that you have poached. And you're bringing in all these different people. Bustdown has had more players already listed on their roster than Warm-Up did in Season 1. All of Season 1. 6 weeks, Warm-Up had 10 players. Bustdown has already exceeded that, and it hasn't even been week 2 yet. So I just don't think this is a good idea for Bustdown. Keep a lineup, maybe change 1 or 2 people depending on how it works out, and build some chemistry. Right now, you're just going in there as a team with raw talent. No chemistry. Up next is Radiant. So Radiant gets a new roster. Whitey is gone, apparently, and Wildcard has left to join Bustdown. Valerian comes in. I guess Valerian was a good choice for them. Valerian's a really good DPS. I think there are some better options out there. I mean, Richie was available, but he's no longer available. Skeppii's available, but I don't see that happening. Sibs is available, but apparently there's bad blood between people on the team, still on the team, and with Sibs, which I think is just stupid. You guys want to win? Then sort out whatever Twitter drama you have. And personally, I don't think they are the number 2 team in the division anymore. Potent, or Scarcity, is a really good player. Luke is also a really good player, but I just don't think they have enough to beat Cyclone anymore, even with adding Valerian. I think losing Whitey was a mistake. I think Whitey is the best player on that team if you put him back on there. Yes, Luke is really good, but he's not playing his normal role. He's been switching to frontline this season, and he's learning it very quickly and very efficiently, and he has a good group of people, good group of friends and peers surrounding him, so he'll be able to adjust and play that role fairly well. But I just think Whitey's highly underrated, and I think that Whitey should come back to Radiant. Whether it was him that left or the team that kicked him, whatever it may be, hash it out. Once again, it's stupid. Retaliation did not show up for their week 1 matchup against Elevate. Now, rumors is that someone was sick. The entire Elevate squad is sick. Shu is pretty much sick 50 out of the 52 weeks of the year. So there's that. Payne pretty much has cough drops in his nostrils because the man is so sick. Retaliation really has been, I don't want to say attacking me online, but it seems like they have been. I put out the power rankings in week 0. They were last place in the power rankings, and they attacked me for it. Do you think our team's a joke? Well, yeah, I think your team is a big joke now because one person's sick and you guys don't show up to play. You talk big game and get destroyed by Elevate in group stages, and then you have a tough time against Team Cute in group stages. And then you don't show up for your first matchup. Why? Now, if there were other problems or other implications in the background, I don't know about this. So I can't speak on that. But I'm going off of what I've seen. Okay? And that's you didn't show up. So if you want to talk and attack me on Twitter, you got to back it up, man. You got to back it up. You guys face eStorm Gaming this week. Now, technically, that's an easy game for you. But I think eStorm Gaming is going to win. You guys have had 2 weeks off now. And I think eStorm Gaming is hungry to grind. And they know that they lose to Loki. They know they're probably going to lose to Elevate. But I think their chance at not getting put in relegations this midseason is beating Retaliation every time this season. So I think they're going to show up. So is Retaliation going to show up? Let's talk about iTech and FTF. First of all, iTech versus Stush Gaming. Those were some sloppy games. Poor ult management from both sides. Which was a shame because Benji, Comedy, AMK, those are really good players. And I didn't expect this from them. So a lot of sloppy play, poor ult management, some really bad positioning. Benji's playing damage. He's getting a lot of damage, and he's getting top kills each game, but his positioning is really wonky. And because his positioning is thrown off, it forces the rest of his team to be out of position because they have to do more than what they should have to do in certain situations because Benji is forcing it. So really, a lot of people are saying FTF is the number 2 team in the division behind Flashpoint. A lot of people say iTech is. Personally, neither of them are number 2. There is no number 2 in that division right now. iTech is playing sloppy. FTF is getting bodied by Flashpoint. So iTech is going up against Flashpoint in week 2, and then iTech and FTF will face each other in week 3. The next 2 weeks in this division will truly determine who is the number 2 in this division. Can iTech beat or even go more than 3 games against Flashpoint? And can FTF beat iTech? That is the questions that I am asking myself in the next 2 weeks. So the next 2 weeks will prove who is the number 2 team in that division. But as of right now, there's no number 2 team. Stush Gaming is the number 4 team, but if they beat FTF next week, it won't surprise me, to be completely honest. Let's talk about RomanRulers. Last but not least, this man, first of all, I hope that his grandma is doing okay. Our prayers and everything from myself and the rest of the Console Corner team go out to you for your grandma. I know you were playing in game 1 for Has-Beens versus Low-Key Scheming in week 1, and a family emergency with your grandma happened in the middle of the match. So we sincerely hope that she's okay. I know you spoke about it afterwards during my stream on Monday night, but I hope she's doing okay, man. And I hope, if she does have any problems, they're not as severe as they could be, and that she gets a full recovery. But let's talk about it. So Roman leaves Has-Beens, plays game 1. Unfortunately, he had to leave. But he plays game 1 and he leaves the team. He wants to be a starter. Roman, this is not a good idea. Who's going to pick you up? Do you have an Xbox? Can you go to Xbox? I don't believe you have an Xbox. Maybe I'm wrong, but to the best of my knowledge, you don't. If you go to EU, who are you going to play for? In a starting role. Who? I don't see you joining FTF. I don't see you joining Stush Gaming. Flashpoint's not going to pick you up. They're having problems with whether they should pick up Skeppii or not. So I don't see RomanRuler being a starter anywhere on PS4. Besides what Has-Beens, if they were able to implement him into the starting role. There is one team I see RomanRuler as a starter on, but it won't be in week 2. Low-Key Scheming. Apparently, the entire squad, excluding Hatsu, does not want to play the game anymore. Fiery has had a ton of excuses, but I saw this coming. He left the team. Rumor is he's a sub for Invictus now, which I don't know how I feel about that, but whatever. So Hatsu Chibi is the only person staying with Low-Key Scheming. Now, my initial idea was if Hatsu leaves and they need a squad, or even if Hatsu stays, if this team needs players, bring in Stremix, man. The roster rule says you can do that. Bring in Stremix. Play under the same name and play with the same record that the team already has. And Stremix gets their PCL experience, and they get what they should have gotten in the first place, if you're asking me. If Hatsu leaves, give it to Stremix and tell Rude there's a new captain. and let them play under the name Low Key Scheming, and let's see the Stremic squad in PCL. But Low Key Scheming has a roster for week 2, and that's Hatsu, Chibi, Cop, B-Lam, Izzy, Mitchell, and Business. I don't know how I feel about Business. He's left teams 50 times in the past 6 months. Izzy's a good player, hasn't really played on a top team. B-Lam has been out of the game for a while, but he's come back the last 2 weeks. He's been grinding, so we'll have to see how he does. And Cop is a really good player as well. Probably the best mechanical talent on the team right now, with Izzy close behind and Hatsu right in that mix as well. But let me tell you something. I spoke with Hatsu last night on my stream in a chat, a voice chat, and I have 10 times more respect for Hatsu as a player and as a person. In the past, Hatsu's teamed with Fiery, he's teamed with Griba, and every time his team leaves or quits playing, he quits and stops playing as well. But this time, he said himself out loud in my ears that he wants to play this game, and he wants to gain the experience. He wants to VOD review. He wants to learn how to play the game. He wants better game sense, and he wants to improve as a player in the PCL. And if he has to have 4 new guys every single week, he said he's going to do that. He doesn't care about losing. He wants to improve. So I have much more respect for Hatsu for that. So if they need a starter, I think this is the best place for RomanRulers to go. So that's that. That's it for Console Corner and your Console Pro news for this week. Power rankings are out. Don't forget to check the website. It's right there. ConsoleCorner.co. Follow us on Twitter at Console Pro News. Instagram at Console Pro News as well. We did not stream this episode on Mixer today, so I'm sorry for those who were expecting to go on Mixer, but that didn't happen. Matchup of the week is Elevate versus Low Key Esports. Let me know who you think is going to win. It's on our Twitter at Console Pro News. Thanks everyone for joining, and I hope you guys enjoy everything.